All right, buckle up, because today we're taking a deep dive into the mind of a genius.
Ooh, sounds exciting. Whose brain are we picking today?
Well, I'm not talking about the person who invented the spork, though I'm sure they were brilliant too. No, today we're tackling Sir Isaac Newton.
Newton! I'm intrigued already. But, and no offense to the big guy, wasn't the apple falling from a tree stuff like the highlight reel? What more is there to unpack?
Oh, you'd be surprised. We're not just talking basic physics today. You brought a video analyzing him through a whole different lens.
Right, the Enneagram.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're looking at Newton as a social five.
And just for anyone who's new to this whole personality system thing.
Well, it's not about slapping labels on historical figures like they're, in a yearbook.
Yeah.
But looking at someone like Newton through this framework, I don't know, it's like finding hidden patterns, connections in his life that might have flown under the radar before.
Exactly. So this social five type, the video makes it clear they're driven by this need to not just blend in, to make a real impact, and of course, the endless quest for knowledge, but not just collecting facts, right? They want to go deep, understand the why behind everything. So my question is, does that sound like the Newton we think we know, the guy always buried in a book?
That's the image we have, right? The solitary genius tucked away in his study. But here's the thing. There was another side to him, a side that craved real-world influence. Remember, this is the guy who served in Parliament, became president of the Royal Society, even got knighted by the Queen. These weren't just honors for a scientist. These were positions of power. This wasn't just a guy who wanted to understand the universe. He wanted to shape it.
It's easy to forget he wasn't just a name in a textbook. He was a big deal, a celebrity almost.
Exactly. And that ambition, that desire for his knowledge to mean something in the real world, that's classic social five. They're not content with just understanding. They want their understanding to matter.
So we're already getting a more complex picture of Newton, but then this video throws us a curveball with this concept of the totem. It's almost like something out of, like, a Dan Brown novel or something.
Well, it's a little less Da Vinci Code and a little more about this. Burning curiosity that just won't quit. The totem is this relentless pursuit of the ultimate truth, the underlying reality of everything. It's what pushes these social fives past the surface, always digging deeper, searching.
So how does this play out with Newton? Was he, like, secretly decoding ancient texts between writing scientific papers?
You're closer than you think. See, alongside his groundbreaking work, Newton was super into ancient manuscripts, alchemy, even obsessed over the Great Pyramid.
Hold up. Are we saying Newton was low-key into conspiracy theories?
Well, it might seem that way on the surface, but through the social five lens, these interests become another avenue in this totem quest, searching for those fundamental truths hidden beneath the surface of everything.
So he wasn't just looking for the how of the universe, he was after the big why.
Precisely. He wanted the grand unifying theory, the thing that tied it all together, and that relentless pursuit. That's pure totem drive in action.
Okay, my mind is already a little blown. But then the video hits us with this other concept, the King Midas complex. And I gotta say, the name alone has me hooked.
It's definitely catchy. The idea from Enneagram expert Claudio Naranjo is that social fives have this almost subconscious need to make everything they touch valuable, important. Like they want to transform it into gold, metaphorically speaking.
Okay, so how does Newton, father of physics, fit into this whole King Midas thing? Was he trying to spin his scientific instruments into gold bars on the side?
Not quite. Think of it like this. He wasn't satisfied with just understanding. He wanted to elevate, to revolutionize. Look at his work with alchemy. Now, we could write it off as some weird side hobby, but it was deeper than that. Taking something ordinary, like lead, and trying to transform it into something extraordinary, like gold. That was the point, and it went beyond alchemy. This drive touched everything he did, especially his scientific breakthroughs.
So it's less about literal gold and more about this urge to create something revolutionary, something that truly matters, like his laws of motion, his work on gravity.
You got it. For Newton, the King Midas complex was all about this burning need to not just understand, but to transform, to leave his mark on the world. And I think it's safe to say mission accomplished. His work didn't just break barriers, it shattered them. It changed how we see the universe.
Okay, you've officially convinced me this Enneagram thing is no joke. We're seeing a side of Newton they definitely don't teach in school. But get this, the video doesn't stop there. It claims that Newton possessed shamanistic qualities. Shamanistic? Newton? Was he consulting the stars when he wasn't in the lab?
It's a bold comparison, right? But think about it. We're not saying Newton was running around in a headdress summoning spirits. Shamans are all about bridging worlds,
Hmm.
helping people connect to a deeper understanding of reality. And Newton, through his discoveries, he kind of did the same thing, just with, equations instead of rituals.
Okay, I see what you mean. Newton's work definitely had this way of changing how people saw the universe. It was like he was pulling back the curtain on something much bigger than themselves.
Exactly. His laws of motion, his work on gravity, it wasn't just about explaining why things fall down. He was connecting heaven and earth, creating this framework to understand the entire cosmos. Remember, back then there wasn't some big theory of everything.
Hmm.
His work was like building a bridge to the unknown.
So instead of herbs and chanting, he used telescopes and calculations to connect people to a bigger understanding of the universe. I like it. But there's this quote from Newton that the video highlights. He says, "We build too many walls and not enough bridges." And it really struck me, even now, centuries later. What do you think he was getting at?
That quote is incredible, isn't it? It's like multi-layered. On one hand, it speaks to that very social five thing we're talking about, this drive to connect, to share what they know instead of keeping it to themselves. But then you look at his actual work. Like, think about the improvements he made to the reflecting telescope.
He did do some pretty groundbreaking stuff there, didn't he? To be honest, my knowledge of telescopes is pretty limited. I know they let you see things far away, and that's about it.
Well, there's a lot more to it than that. What Newton did, those refinements he made, it was like he built a bridge to the cosmos,
Yeah.
Suddenly, we could see further deeper into space than ever before. He literally expanded what humans could perceive.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. It wasn't just about looking at the moon through a fancy tube. And his quote, it's like he predicted how relevant that idea would be, building bridges in a world that's constantly trying to divide us.
Exactly. And it goes back to that social five need to contribute, to make a difference. It's not enough to just gather knowledge. It needs to be shared to connect with something larger.
My mind is officially blown. Okay, so we're nearing the end of our journey through Newton's mind, and the video drops one final bombshell. It says that successful social fives, the ones who really embody this type, they become totems themselves. What do you make of that?
It's a really interesting concept when you think about it. And honestly, I think it perfectly describes Newton's legacy. He didn't just uncover all this knowledge. He embodied the pursuit of it. He became the gold standard, you might say.
That's such a good point. It's not just that we study his work, it's that we kind of revere him, you know? He's
Mhm.
a symbol of scientific inquiry, of that drive to understand that the social five is all about. He's a totem for anyone who's ever looked at the world and wanted to know more.
Exactly. He represents that relentless pursuit of knowledge, always pushing boundaries, diving into the unknown, and that drive, that insatiable curiosity. I think it's something that resonates with everyone on some level, don't you think?
Absolutely. Makes you wonder if we all tapped into that social five energy a little more, we could unlock a whole new level of understanding, both within ourselves and the world around us.
No, wouldn't that be something?
It would indeed. Now, we've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be digging even deeper into the mind of Sir Isaac Newton. Stay with us. It's funny, isn't it? We put these historical figures, these geniuses like Newton, up on a pedestal. But this conversation, it's made him feel more real, more human.
Totally. Like, yeah, he was a genius, but he was also just a guy trying to figure things out,
Yep.
grappling with the same big questions we all ask ourselves. What's it all about? What's my place in all of this?
Exactly. He's not just this stuffy portrait in a dusty old textbook anymore. He's a curious mind, someone who never stopped asking why, who saw connections where other people just saw randomness. It's actually pretty inspiring.
Right. It makes you think we should all embrace that a bit more, that thirst for knowledge, that desire to understand not just the what, but the why behind everything.
Absolutely. This whole social five thing, it's really made me appreciate the power of curiosity, just how far it can take you. Asking the big questions, even if you're not sure you'll ever get a straight answer. There's something powerful about that.
And maybe that's the biggest takeaway from Newton's story, right? It's not about having all the answers. It's about being brave enough to keep searching, to keep building those bridges of understanding, just like he did.
Well said. It feels like we could spend a lifetime unpacking Newton's shamanistic genius and still only scratch the surface. But we've explored his insatiable curiosity, his drive to solve the universe's greatest puzzles, and the impact his work still has on us today. It's been quite a journey.
It has. And I hope it's given our listeners a new perspective, not just on Newton, but on that social five potential that might be hidden inside all of us.
Me too. So next time you find yourself diving headfirst into a new topic, or maybe just lost in thought about the mysteries of the universe, remember Sir Isaac Newton and that unstoppable social five energy. What bridges will you build? What connections will you make? And what truths will you uncover along the way? Until next time, keep those minds curious.